unashamedly human with a diagnosis that is only a part of who I am.
It's Tuesdays with Tawana. Let's get it. You ready? Let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. What's good, beloveds? It is Tuesdays with Tawana. I am grateful to be in the building on today. Let me just check my sound real quick because it said that I was muted. Oh, I think we're good. Just hit me up in the comments if there's any sound issues. But what's good, fam? Tuesdays with Tawana with Dr. Tad. I am your host and your curator for this weekly Womanist podcast where we build community one episode at a time. We gather in community. So I am leading the conversation, but I welcome your comments, your greetings, your questions, and I will insert your voice into this narrative as we chop it up for the next 30 minutes or so. If you're here for the first time, watching live or listening later on your various podcasts, subscribe to hashtag Tuesdays with Tawana, and I drop a new ep every week, except last week, because your girl went to the doctor Tuesday morning. I had a little little cough, and lo and behold, I had like early onset walking pneumonia. So I rested for 5 days, took all my meds, and never really got to the point of any like chest pains or any fever or anything. So grateful for healing, grateful for prayers, grateful for all the love that was shown to me on social media, phone calls, text messages. I am so grateful, and it just feels so good to be loved. And before we get started, I just have to get something off my chest. Mustard! If you don't know what that is, I need you to listen to Kendrick Lamar's GNX album. TV Off is on like major replay. And I just have to yell mustard every single time. It gives me life. This morning, I was just feeling blah. I mean, my health was good. Right, that part, Carlene. I might even do it again during the broadcast because it just gets me so hyped. I love it. I was feeling blah, just, feeling fine physically, but just, emotionally, I had work to do, and I was like, I don't feel like doing nothing. And then I turned on 911, which is one of my favorite shows that I can watch over and over and over and over, like Chicago PD. That was a big mistake. And then I was like, it is Tuesday. Tuesdays with Tawana. All right, come on. Let's get up, get it together, get ready. So I am ready to begin my day with you on today. So our format, is pretty flexible and amenable to what is happening the energy that I'm feeling. And today I was struggling with a topic, and I was like, I really don't need like a topic. But then, I was reflecting on the holiday season. I'm reflecting on, all the stuff that's going on in the world. Just so I said, what? I think this offering is gonna be free yourself. And we're gonna delve more into that in a minute. What are we freeing ourselves from? And in order to free yourself, one must know that they are in some sort of bondage, if you will. You are trapped, you are stuck. So freeing yourself, you got to be able to name that thing in order to know the steps you need to take to be free, mind, body, and soul, to be free from the hurt and pain of another school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. 15-year-old girl. How do we free ourselves from such a violent nation that is just feeding into the narrative of violence? And now it's been out of control, and it's going to continue to get out of control until someone just stops feeding this westernized, racialized, misogynistic, patriarchal, capitalistic view of this nation and the world. Free yourself. I attend FCBC in New York online, and the public advocate for New York spoke after service, and he said something that was very interesting. In New York, many people, for many reasons, are very upset about what's happening with immigration in the city. And hey, Jeanette, good to see you. You are always the person of the year, always. Just such a beautiful activist and advocate. So I'm glad you're on, because I want you to hear this part, and I would love for you to chime in. So New York, they're having challenges with immigration. Whoever they are, and so all of this money, like billions of dollars, has been going toward services for immigrants and those who live in the city who have been struggling, whether it's unemployment, low minimum wage, and other needs that are not being met, some houselessness. But the public advocate said that our anger is misdirected. The anger of the people of New York is directed at the immigrants, when it should be actually directed toward the people that is delving out the money. Because if you had billions of dollars to begin with, why wasn't that money used for services across the board? Whether it's raising minimum wage, whether it's supporting those who are having issues with healthcare, with houselessness, the anger is directed at the wrong people. So the question is, if you had all these billions of dollars to give to this, all this time we've been in this struggle, and no one has said anything about this pool of money that we could tap into. Speaking of which, I was listening to Joy Reid, and she broke down FICA in a way. She put it on the shelf, on the level of with the cookies where we could reach them. And she was talking about how working class, or working people, not even class, just working people in general, contribute to FICA, right? And it is our money. It's not a tax. It is money that is set aside for one's retirement. right? And there are trillions and trillions of dollars in this account. And the government wants to take over that account because they want to do what they do. They want to control our money and take away what people have worked so hard for. It's bad enough that you're using our tax dollars, as Tupac said, you have money for wars but can't feed the poor. You're using our tax dollars for genocide. You're using our tax dollars to wage a war in this country and beyond. You're using our tax dollars to fund war. It's just all of this, and now you want to take away people's livelihoods, people who have worked for 20, 30, even 40 years, and you want to take away their investment. And this investment was created back in the 1940s or whatever. I can't tell you the history lesson, and we only got 30 minutes for this podcast. But if you listen to Joy Reid break it down, it's just genius. And they want to privatize it because it's about power and control. Roe versus Wade, power and control. MAGA, power and control. Things that are, taking away the Department of Education, power and control. The whole vaccine and anti-vaxxers, and now they're stepping back on that, and now they're challenging RFK and saying, well, no, you shouldn't, stop the polio vaccine. And so it's just all this back and forth and all this fear mongering and all this BS that is happening to make us respond out of fear. So I am here today to talk about how, or to share some idea, or even just to grapple with, how do we free ourselves from this clusterfuck? Samuel Sullivan is in the building. My Tuesday moment with my beautiful black elegance and excellence. I love you, beloved. Thank you for joining. Always love to see you on here. So there is so many things to free ourselves from. This morning, y'all know I watch The View every single day, 11 to 12. I don't answer my phone. I watch The View. And someone asked me, why did I love The View so much? One, because it is a panel of women. One. Two, it's diverse women. Some people accuse The View of being very to the left, but they balance it out. You have Alyssa, and you have Anna Navarro. You have Sarah, who's an independent. You have Whoopi, who is like not ascribed to any type of political party. And it's not just political, but even social upbringing. Sunny always talks about how she was born and raised in the Bronx, and I was born and raised in Harlem. I always represent Harlem, Wagner Projects in the building. So I love the diversity, and I love how, they chop it up and share their experiences. And it can get a little heated sometimes, but I love how they exemplify how to have a dialogue. Jules in the building. How do we free ourselves? Indeed, such an important question in these times where so much is dark. Absolutely. I was doing a meditation. Let me go back for a minute. So I watched The View, and one of the things that Whoopi said to Tyler Perry, who was on today, Whoopi said, when she was in For Colored Girls, the movie that was an adaptation of the book For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough by Ntozake Shange, she wrote a letter to Tyler Perry thanking him for seeing her after 40 years of being in the business. I don't know what transpired behind the scenes or what moved her to share that sentiment with him, but whatever it was, he made her feel seen as a black woman, who had been in this business for 40 something years. That was a freeing moment for me, because then I was reflecting on when I went to Dubai, and I absolutely loved it. And when I came back, people were asking, well, what did you love about Dubai? Of course, Dubai is beautiful. I got to see the Burj. I was, in cultural restaurants, leaning, eating with my hands, and just feeling all the feels, dressing in beautiful attire. I went to the mosque in Abu Dhabi. But the two things that stood out the most for me in my experience in Dubai was the fact that I felt honored and seen, and I felt safe. I don't think in my 50-something years on this earth, besides not having memories as an infant or maybe even a toddler, that I felt seen, honored, and safe. Even as a young child who had to deal with molestation, even as a teen dealing with drugs and sexual abuse, even as an adult, like there was always something where walking down the street and a beloved is killed, dealing, being exposed to gun violence, losing countless friends to gun violence, or to death by suicide, or just life just keeps lifing. And I've never felt safe. I never felt seen. Like I always had to fight to be seen. I always had to go that extra mile in order to be acknowledged, or I had to be a little bit louder, or I had to be a little bit faster, or I had to be a little bit smarter, or, all of those things take so much out of us. And then we wonder why Black beloveds are at the top of the list of many of ills and ailments, because the more we learn about the body and we pay attention to our body, the more we learn that stress and strife and the environment and all of that is feeding into dis-ease and giving dis-ease a breeding ground to then spread and to take over and to impact us adversely. The most healthy person can be diagnosed with cancer. The most healthy person can be diagnosed with hypertension because of stress, or when I'm talking about health, I'm talking about working out and eating, and they may live in an environment where there's not a food desert and they have healthy food and organic food. That is not the norm, beloveds. So how do we free ourselves from a narrative that really just doesn't care about us? Michael Jackson said it. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. Full stop. So how do we free ourselves so that we can take care of ourselves and live life, and not only live life, but live life more abundantly? My friend H. Soul said, and I paraphrase, when are we going to get to the point where we are not complacent and settling with survival? How do we get to thriving? He has a thrival code. That's a quote. That's his movement. His movement for beloveds who are down for the liberation. H Soul. Look him up. Powerful friend, a dear friend of mine, and brother. So how do we free ourselves from the ills, the societal ills, from the powers that be, from being indoctrinated into a Western culture that wasn't designed for us as Black beloveds to begin with? So let me pause right here for a moment. So I, in seminary back in 2000, between 2006 and 2010, that was the time I was in in seminary. I learned about womanist and womanism. It's a term coined by Alice Walker in her book In Search of Our Mother's Gardens. And I'll sum it up because it's a beautiful 4-part definition that is never linear. It's never descriptive to the point where someone feels like left out because I don't fit in. My hair is not this. My skin color is not that. My weight is this. My accent is that. I may not pronounce, I may say Manhattan instead of Manhattan, or, it's a definition that is so inclusive, but it basically centers Black women and Black beloveds for not only our liberation, but the liberation of all. But it starts with us. It starts with us. It starts with us because we have been placed into a compromising situation. We have been placed into a horrific, dehumanizing, murderous environment since the inception of this country, where we have been sexualized, we have been dehumanized, we have been marginalized, we have been oppressed, we have been disrespected, we have been demeaned, we have been outcast, we have been shamed, all of these things. And that trauma, those layers of trauma, we continue to carry that trauma in our bodies, even if it did not directly impact us the way it did our ancestors. But we are carrying that energy. We are carrying that in our bloodlines. So how do we free ourselves as our ancestors did? And how do we do that now when we have more access and more opportunity than our ancestors did when they were building schools and building worship institutions and owning printing press and owning land and doing things that we have more access now, and it's just not happening at the scale that we need it to happen because of being stuck in this Western ideology of individualism and capitalism. Let me see what my beloved has to say. Samuel says, many speak about reparations and so many other ills that further separate us. Freeing ourselves speaks about being simply seen, respected, and loved. Knowing our worth. You better say that. Knowing our worth, knowing that we are worthy to live and not die at the hands of systemic ills, knowing that we are more than enough, knowing that we don't have to ascribe to the capitalistic world that we live in, and the substandard education that they're handing to us, giving us the crumbs from the feast of the king at the table, or dealing with lack of access to healthcare, or now medical schools, now, since affirmative action, since people aren't forced for us to attend these institutions, now the number of Black and brown beloveds, the attendance is now, enrollment is now lower. What does that mean? Then that means we're going to have less doctors that look like us in our community. And if we have that, then when I walk into a doctor's office, I want to be seen by my medical professional. My medical professionals right now, when I go to see them, my oncologist asks me about my children by name. They want to know, how is life going? Am I okay? How is this shift right now? Because they know of the shift that I've been experiencing, the harrowing shift that I've been experiencing for the last 6 months. That is not going to happen, especially since they're removing diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and access. So that means that there is no governing body to say that you need to treat people with some semblance of equity. So how do we free ourselves? We've named all these things and named all these ills. And I want to mention Dr. Jamie Eady, a good friend, grief doula, just look her up. She's on Facebook. And her quote, this is her quote: "Healing cannot happen where shame exists. Grief is not to be suffocated. It must breathe and it must be acknowledged. Grief impacts physical, social, emotional, and spiritual wellness." She also says, "I have the agency and I get to determine how I live and die." So let me tell you how we gonna get free. First, it begins with us individually as a part of the collective. It's in the spirit of Ubuntu. I am because you are, right? I am an individual. I am uniquely created. And I am here for my God-given purpose to fill a gap in this world, which that gap is a part of a larger ecosystem, right? So you, Sam, you, Jules, you, Larry, hey, and my brother in the gym, you, Jules, you, Jeanette, you, Carly, all of you, each of you are beautifully, wonderfully, masterfully, divinely created to fill a gap in this world so that we all can live and not die at the hands of systemic ills. But the thing is that we must do some self-reflection and explore those harms that are sitting deep in our belly, that is causing us to respond and react in a way that is not true to our essence, which is loving, which is graceful, which is merciful, which is compassionate, which is full of joy, which is joyous and funny, and at moments of lament and tears that have salt so that we can clean out whatever is happening, and the salt then preserves us so that we don't fall apart and we don't wither away. How do we free ourselves? We name that thing, that which is concerning us, that is bothering us, that is causing pain, that is causing shame, that is causing guilt, that is causing harm, not only to me, but to my beloveds, because you, Sam, if you're not okay, I'm not okay. We must begin to believe that we can free ourselves individually and collectively from societal ills. We spend trillions and trillions of dollars in this nation. The best way for us to free ourselves is to begin to free ourselves and to remove ourselves out of this capitalistic racist system and build our own systems. How do we do that? We come together. Because somebody has a knowledge about real estate. Somebody else has a knowledge about education. Somebody else has a knowledge about healthcare. Somebody else has a knowledge about trust and living wills and living trust. Somebody else has knowledge about what it is to care for yourself and to grieve in a way that is moving you through healing. Because I always say healing ain't easy. Healing wouldn't have to happen if something wasn't harmed or hurt, or if there wasn't a scar or something wrong. So healing ain't easy. So we got to be willing to go through the muck and the mire and go through it and learn from it, so that we can grow together in community and free ourselves. Audre Lorde says it best: if I didn't define myself for myself, I would be crunched into other people's fantasies and eaten alive. And that is exactly what is happening to us right now. If we have jobs that are paying nowhere, the minimum wage, How can people survive off of minimum wage? But there are still human beings that deserve to live a life that they have health care, a life that they are seen as human beings, a life that they deserve to live and to live life more abundantly. We have this classism and this racism and this sexism and phobias and all of this. We have an opportunity to step back and to define who we are for us and by us, and take our dollars and ensure that that dollar is being circulated into our communities so that we don't have to worry about our children not having adequate education, that their history is truly being taught, because Black history is American history. Slavery is American history. Jim Crow, Reconstruction, the civil rights, all of that is American history and the ills. We can't even talk about white people acknowledging this and apologizing for it, because a true apology is that you name the wrong and then you right the wrong, and so that it doesn't happen again. We can't rely on that. We got to rely on people with a liberation mindset. White people, Black people, people of color, if you down for the liberation, that's what womanism is about. Womanism is about centering us in our Black experiences and ensuring that we are liberated from things and people and entities and systems that continue to try to kill us every day. Like Lucille Clifton, the beautiful, brilliant, divine poet, says, every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. And goes on to invite us to celebrate with her because it has failed. So, beloved, how do we get to the celebration? From the school shootings, from the wars, from the racism, from the dehumanization of immigrants. How do we free ourselves from being the mishap? Like, you're a felon, you're illegal, you're Black, how do we free ourselves from those labels? We've got to know and have an opportunity to address the guilt and shame that has been placed on us, and learn how to free ourselves from that and define who we are, how powerful we are, with compassion, with a level of curiosity, instead of judging a beloved because of the way they dress or where they grew up, and that, mentality of pants sagging or not having shoelaces in your sneakers. Instead of having judgment, let's find out, do you know where you get that from? How did you learn to dress like that? Do you know where that comes from? That comes from our Black and brown beloveds being arrested. How do I know? Because it happened to me. You got to take off your belt. You got to take out your shoestrings, so your pants can't stay up, your shoes are flopping, and then it became a thing. How did it become a thing? Because it is rooted in something that has been like indoctrinated in us, where this is okay because this is all you are worth. This is how I am going to define you. And this is how you are going to live and show up in this world. Nah. We are too good for that. We are too great for that. We are too divine for that. We cannot allow other people to define who we are. We have got to free ourselves from the nonsense, from the vitriol, from the disrespect, from the dehumanization. And we have to, as Sam said, be seen, respected, and loved. And how do we do that? It begins with us. It begins with me. And then once I know how to love myself and respect myself, then I know how to teach you how to treat me. And then I'll have a curiosity about, well, do you love yourself? And what do I need to do to show you love? And then it just keeps going. And it's reciprocal and it's mutual. It's not individualistic. It's not pulling us up by our own bootstraps that we don't even have. It is about knowing who we are to free ourselves so that other people can be free. So that others can be free. I am no good in this life being free by myself. Nature tells us that all the time. The circle of life teaches us that all the time. So how are we going to free ourselves? We are going to define ourselves for ourselves so that we are no longer crunched into other people's fantasies and eaten alive. We are going to remove the guilt and shame of our experiences, Dr. Jamie. We are going to deal with the grief and the loss. We are going to deal with it so that we can rebuild. We are going to dismantle using our own tools. Because again, Audre Lorde says you cannot use the master's tools to dismantle the master's house. Nor can you use the master's tools to rebuild. We have our own tools that are innate in us from the place we call home, our motherland, true to our God and true to our native land, the place where we had culture and griots and celebration and dancing and riches and community and unconditional positive regard and love and support. Yeah, there was drama. Yeah, there was beef. That's going to happen. That's the circle of life. It's a circle of life. It's going to happen. But there's a way to disagree. There's a way to live. We're not a monolith. So, of course, someone's not going to agree that I have my hair braided. Someone else wants me to have my natural hair. Or somebody's not going to agree that I have on Gucci glasses. Or someone else may not agree. Whatever. You know, it's we are so exposed to the minutia. Like, we need to minor. That's minor. We need to be major about our stuff. Major about who we are and how we show up in this world. So if you down for the liberation, because please, beloveds, please know, if I'm free, and black women are free, we all gonna get free. And it's not to put the weight on us like it's our responsibility, no. But what we do is that we take care of ourselves, right? For ourselves, by ourselves. And then we invite people to come along and get free. Do the work. Come on and get free with us. Because you are impacted as well. The rights to your body has just been taken away. You know, we had to fight for the right to vote. We had to fight to have a bank account. We had to fight to be seen as someone who can actually work and not stay home and go to school. There was a time when we weren't even allowed to be educated. Unknown. So I leave you with this. I see you. I honor you. I am curious about your well-being. I want you to feel that energy, that you are worthy. You are more than enough. And we can do this. We don't need the aid and the help of whoever. We can do this within our own community. And we have the resources. Everything we need is right here. Right here. So this is Dr. Tad with Tuesdays with Tawana. Every Tuesday, 2:00 right here and on YouTube. You can also subscribe to Tuesdays with Tawana on any of your podcast platforms. And, let's build community. Let's continue to build community through this Womanist podcast, one episode at a time. I love y'all to the moon and beyond. I don't know what else to say. Y'all give me life. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tapping in. Thank you for your comments. And I'll see you next Tuesday, which is Christmas Eve, but we still gonna rock. We still gonna rock. We're gonna make it happen. Much love, beloveds. Be well. Take care.